Hey everybody, real quick, I wanted to talk about the SQL support we've been adding to Volt. We did a survey a little while ago, and by far and away, adding SQL databases was the #1 most requested feature on Volt. So we're pretty close. It's taking a little longer than we thought, but here's an app I'm working on that, actually this is more of a demo app, but this app is running on Postgres. We also have SQLite support and MySQL support, and all of those are run sort of on the back end via the SQL gem, which is just really great. Basically, the API is mostly the same. We've added a couple of things to querying, for example. So you can now do things like this, where you could say, you can pass a block to where, and you could say the title, and you use this for equals, and then you can use the single versions of the Boolean operators. So you can say or, and you can do negation, and sort of all these things that previously were part of the Mongo. You basically would pass in like the Mongo hash object. Now we sort of are adopting SQL's style of blocks to the where clause because it's a lot more flexible and it lets you express sort of things in a more Ruby-ish way. So all that works. Let's see. What's interesting is, previously we were using Mongo, and we knew sort of long-term that we wanted to add SQL support. And so I've been thinking for a while about the best way to do sort of data migrations. What's interesting is I really like the flexibility of being able to sort of quickly change my schema. And what's interesting is it may not seem like a big deal, but I think something like a migration sort of gets in the way when you're working with the model. I really like having the field declarations in the model. When I'm prototyping, I actually really like not even needing to define the fields. I'll use the underscore notation. So we currently support the underscore notation in all the drivers. They get, basically what happens is if I set, let me do this. So if I have a model, what I can do is I can still use the underscore notation for fields that don't exist. So I could say stuff. Actually, let me just do this. I'll grab the first. Grab the first post. And what this will do is if I bring over, I've got this little sort of thing to see my schema. We create this extra field, and in Postgres we use JSON-B, which is sort of their special JSON thing. And so in Postgres you can actually, all these extra fields, the undefined fields will get assigned into this extra JSON sort of field, and you can query it using special JSON-B query stuff. In the other databases, it just gets stored in a field, in an extra field, a field called extra as JSON, and you can't query it, but you can kind of use it from there. And if you need to query it, you can move it out into a real field. If you want fields, which usually you will once you sort of figure out what your schema is going to look like, you can go ahead and define them in the model class. And basically what's interesting is the models are sort of the authority, but and so it'll automatically, if I add a field here, so if I add a field and then I go into, you can see something failed here. As you can see, it's still a work in progress. All right, so if I go into here, you can see the structure. It's already added that. What's interesting is we basically, as soon as the app boots or a save is detected in development mode, it goes ahead and creates all of the tables for the associated models if they don't exist, and then it creates, it does a couple things. So there are migrations now, so we have this migrations folder, but you don't use them for creating fields. You only use them for renames and deletes. So if, for example, I was to delete this field and I hit save, it's going to go ahead and automatically create a migration for me to drop the column and the down migration to recreate it. So basically, the nice thing about this is the migrations are run first, and then basically it'll look, if it's in development mode, to do the auto-generated migrations, it'll run those, and then it'll create any missing fields. So this gives you the same guarantees that migrations in Rails, for example, gives you, but there's a lot less kind of cruft, and really it's only sort of when you are changing things that this becomes an issue. And it's nice because this will work in the same kind of setting, like multiple people working on the same things, but your sort of source of authority is still always your model file. And so the other nice thing is, I can change my type and hit save. And oh, this one I just added back, sorry. So if I hit save, it was a string when I added it back. I'm going to migrate it to a fixed num. So it'll do, it'll do the type migrations. Sorry, some bug with migrating. Anyway, still a work in progress. Oh, some types can't be converted automatically, so you're getting there. But that's par for the course, I guess. Some other things, we're going to do indexes like this, where it basically just auto-migrates your indexes. I think of those. Renames. So renames are kind of an interesting one too. So if I have a field, name 1, you can see it's in here. I can actually rename it to name 2, and because when I hit save, there was only it sort of reboots the app when I hit save, and it looks and it sees, okay, I have this new field named name 2, but in my database I had a field named name 1, and because there's only one field that changed, it noticed that name 1 disappeared from this model and name 2 showed up. In that case, it's going to assume it's a rename, and because the types match. So in that case, it'll automatically create a rename and run the migration for you. You can obviously back the migration if that's not what you want, but I think 99.9% of the time, you're going to rename a field, hit save, and then it's unlikely. Basically, every time you change a field, you just hit save and you're good. I don't think we're going to run into this problem where someone deletes a field, adds another one, and then hit save. We might, but if that's the case, we'll rethink it. But the thing I like about this is really I don't have to concern myself with migrations. The migration files are generated more to help out with working in multiple databases, multiple actual databases, and different teams of people working on things. And really, it's nice because you basically can just type in the fields and you're good to go. Some of the other things that we're working on, we're sort of improving. The original model stuff kind of was rushed. We wanted to get things out the door, and there's a bunch of sort of pieces that were missing or just weren't complete. So we're sort of working to expand those things like before validation, before save, sort of some of the lifecycle hooks, default values. We've added that. Let's see. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's basically almost ready. I think somewhere I wrote October 15th down as a launch date. We're going to be pretty close to that. Yeah, so then the other thing, which we may not get out right at the same time as the SQL gem, because there's so much sort of push for the SQL gem, we might just release it before we formalize the API, but we're also going to be producing this data provider API. And the idea behind that is if you want to have my normal database, it gets set up as store. But if you want to add another one or change what the database connects to, you can basically implement your own data provider, we call it. And there's some tools that we'll give you to make that pretty easy. But yeah, basically we expect to have SQL support really soon. There's a few other things we're still working on it, but a lot of it at this point is polished and some bug fixes and things like that. So anyway, thanks for checking it out.